square.
72 as a product of its prime factors. We're going to get 72. We're going to do two branches. We're going to use 36 times 2. When you get a prime number, circle the prime number. 36 is not a prime number, so you're going to get two branches. And think how you can make 36. Well, that can be 6 times 6. They're not prime numbers, so we go again. 2 times 3, circle the prime numbers. And now we've got 2 times 2 times 2 times the 3 times the 3. That simplifies down to 2 cubed times 3 squared. Okay, so we've got a equals 2 to the power of n times 3 times 5 to the power of m. Write 8a as a product of powers of its prime factors. So we've got a equals 2 to the power of n times 3 times 5 to the power of m. So we're going to do a times 8. That's going to give us 8a. And then we're going to times this side by 8 as well. And that's going to give us 2n times 3 times 5 to the power of m times 8. But it wants to be of prime factors. So we're going to change the 8 into prime number. And the 8 to a prime number would be 2 to the power of 3. So now you've got 2 to the power of n times 3 times 5 to the power of m times 2 to the power of 3. And 2 and 2 have got the same base. So when you multiply indices with the same base, you add the indices. So that will give us 2n plus 3 times 5 to the power of m. Okay, so we've got Annie invests $9,500 for 5 years in a savings account. She gets 1.8% per annum compound interest. How much money does Annie have at the end of 5 years? So first of all, we start off with 100%. If you add your 1.8% onto that, that's going to equal 101.8%. That as a decimal multiplier would equal 1.018. So now you get your amount in the question, which is 9,500 times 1.018. Remember, you want the decimal multiplier here, and that will be to the power of 5 years. Hit that in your calculator. 9,500 times 1.018 to the power of 5, and that should give us 10,386 pounds and 34 pence to the nearest two decimal places, because we're talking about money. Okay, so on 1st of January 2016, Lee bought a boat for $170,000. The value of the boat depreciates by 8% per year. Work out the value of the boat on the 1st of January 2019. Give your answer correct to the nearest dollar. So we've got 100%. We minus 8%. That's going to equal 92%. That as a decimal multiplier is 0.92. So now we've got $170,000 times the decimal multiplier to the power of 2016 to 2019 is 3 years, so that's to the power of 3 years. Hit that in your calculator, you get $132,000, 376.96. But remember, it wants to the nearest dollar, so we're going to round this up to 132,377. Okay, B equals 23.65, correct to 2 decimal places. C equals 5.7, correct to 1 decimal place. Work out the upper bound for A, give your answer to 2 decimal places. So to get the upper bound of A, we want B to be the biggest it can be, so that's going to be the upper bound, and we want C to be the lowest it can be, so that's going to be the lower bound, and that will give us the biggest answer, or the upper bound for A. So 23.65 correct to 2 decimal places for the upper bound would be 23.655, and 5.7 correct to 1 decimal place for its lower bound would be 5.65. So we're going to do 23.655 divided by 5.65, and that will give us 23.655 divided by 5.65. That to 2 decimal places is going to give us 4.19. Equals B minus A. A equals 6 correct to the nearest integer. B equals 15 correct to the nearest 5. Work out the upper bound for the value of C. Show you're working clearly. So for the upper bound of 6 to the nearest integer, that's going to be 6.5, and for the low bound, that's going to be 5.5. 15 correct to the nearest 5. Well, if you half 5, that gives you 2.5. So the upper bound, you would just add that on. That would give you 17.5. For the lower bound, you would subtract that off. That would give you 12.5. And now if we want the upper bound for the value of C, we're going to use the upper bound of B minus the lower bound of A. And the upper bound of B is 17.5, and the lower bound of B, which was 5.5, you subtract that and you will get 12. Cone A and cone B are mathematically similar. The volume of cone A is 250 centimeters cubed, and the volume of cone B is 16 centimeters cubed. The total surface area of cone B is 12 centimeters squared. Calculate total surface area of cone A. So I'm going to do a sketch of cone B being the smaller cone, which has got a volume of 16, and then cone A being the larger cone, which is got a volume of 250. We want to get this down to a ratio where we've got 16 down to 1. So we're going to divide that by 16. We're going to do 250 divided by 16 as well. That's going to give us 250 over 16. And then to get it to its length scale factor, we're going to we're going to cube root that. So that's going to give us a cube root of 250 over 16. So that gives us 5 over 2. And that one is the length scale factor. Because we're trying to work out the surface area, area is measured in squared units. So we're going to square this, and that will give us 6.25. That is your scale factor for area, so that's the area scale factor now. So now we're going from cone B, which has an area of 12, to cone A. So to do that, what we're going to do is 12 times 6.25, and 12 times 6.25 gives us an area of 75 centimeters squared. A and B are two similar vases. Vase A has the height of 24. Vase B has a height of 36. Vase A has a surface area of 960 centimeters squared. Work out the surface area of vase B. So we'll get the two heights. and use the ratio 24 to 36. We want to get this to the ratio of 1 to n, so we're going to divide by 24. That'll give us 1. 36 divided by 24 will give us 1.5. That now is the length scale factor. To get the area scale factor, we will go 1.5 squared. That gives us 2.25. And now to go from 960, which is the smaller surface area, you times to go to the bigger surface area, which is 960 times 2.25. That will give us 2160. Out the length of AC. Give your answer to 3 significant figures. So remember, you'll have your formula sheet at the front of the exam. What we want to try to use here is the cosine rule, and we know that because you're going to have this side, and we need to find AC, which is this side. So we've got 3 sides involved and the angle. So we've got a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. And we're just going to substitute them values in. It doesn't matter which way round you have b and c. So we'll have this as b, this one as c. We're going to cross this out and rename it a. And we're going to rename the opposite side small a. So we've got b, which is 26 squared, plus c, which is 15 squared, minus 2 times 26 times 15 times cos 98. That's going to equal 1009.55 ... with some other numbers, and remember that's a squared. So quite simply, once you got that answer on the calculator, just square root it, and that'll just give you a rounded to 3 significant figures. So if we square root that answer, that gives us 31.77, and that rounded up to 3 significant figures will be 31.8 for A.